A reason response comes from your neocortex and is a more recent product of evolution. But here you can take the time to think through something and come up with a rational response. So instead of the evolved instincts generated by your genes, this is more the net present value of what you calculate based on memes, which are the ideas in your head. More rational, more recent, something that we have to really think through for ourselves, takes a lot of brain power, takes a lot of calories, takes a lot of energy, and it's hard to combat emotions with it, but it's really what separates us from the animals. And the way I think about a gut feeling is it is a combination of emotion and reason with experience added in. So once you have encountered something often enough that you have developed both a reasoned response as to why you should and should not do something, and you have this emotional intelligence from a long time ago, and you have seen the data points often enough, then it becomes gut instinct. This is just ingrained judgment. It can be accelerated through meditation, through experience, through introspection, through journaling. And this helps you know, oh, I shouldn't even date this person because it will turn out badly. I should not go in business with this person just because I've seen that I don't trust them. I should not take that job because it doesn't play to my strengths, and I know eventually it will taper off. And so when you've developed your gut instinct, it is the most powerful thing. Once you've developed your gut instinct, trust nothing else. But it does take time to develop.
It kind of struck me because when I first saw you talking about the gut, I thought that was ridiculous because I don't feel like my gut is always right. And then I noticed that there was actually a big difference between my emotional responses and my gut responses, and that the gut was quite unique and different than my emotional responses, which were often misguided.
Naval, I'd be curious to know if you have thoughts on why certain people have such a strong negative reaction to homeschooling. I don't see nearly the same response to parents sending their children to private school. Homeschoolers are antisocial. Parents aren't qualified to teach their kids. Homeschooling hurts public education. It seems so intense, this criticism, and I'm wondering why people are reacting so strongly to it.
I think it's because people associate homeschooling with radical beliefs or with Christianity or Catholicism or something of that nature. So there's just a set of people who believe that kids should be raised a certain way for the good of the state, and that parents shouldn't be able to raise children with different beliefs or different ideas. It's sort of it's a messianic belief on its own that we're all going to converge into one way of thinking, but it's essentially a religious belief that is combating other religious beliefs. I think it's some combination of the Christian left, which is non-denominational and doesn't even realize how Christian it is. But, it doesn't have Jesus or God, but it definitely has man as devil, and it has the earth as holy and sacred. And then you have the Christian right, which is a classic Christianity and Catholicism and old world values. And I think it's the two of them fighting each other, even though one side doesn't think of itself as Christian at all. It has very much the same values.
How do you define education? How do you define learning, if at all different from education? And is education important? If so, why or why not?
How do you define education and learning? I think that's a really interesting question. I feel like, there's two different things, right? I can memorize information. Young children can sing the alphabet song, but it doesn't mean they understand literacy really and understand how to read. I could memorize multiplication facts, but it doesn't mean that I can actually apply them or understand what that actually means in the world. And so there's two things, right? I feel like one might be to take in new information that maybe you didn't have before. But I think the other piece is having the skill and the ability to then transform or translate that information. Like there needs to be some sort of growth, and that comes in a number of ways. That's what I would think when someone says that they are educated. I tend to think there's been a significant amount of growth somewhere.
Earlier this year, there was a neo-Nazi homeschool network with thousands of members that was discovered in Ohio. And it really started to make me question whether there should be more accountability in homeschooling. Whereas before, I really thought that homeschooling should just be whatever parents wanted. I mean, I'm actually really concerned that a cult like this that's distributing fascist curriculum and indoctrinating children into their ways could be a real threat to society, and that actually this behavior of educating children in this way is abusive. I would call it emotionally abusive.